Alright, fourth video of the day. I know I'm in my confidence shirt, it's my favorite shirt, but then I got grease stains on it. But anyways, it's another story from helping my trainer that was stuck in his truck. I want to talk about truck driving schools. Truck driver schools are a big joke. They only get you far enough to where you can pass the state CDL test, whatever state you live in. They don't even give you any kind of an idea of what you're going to be like, what it's going to be like to drive a truck, especially over the road. You might get an idea of what local driving is, where you're home every night of the week or, whatever. But over the road, you're not going to get any idea of it. Truck driving schools are just going to get you enough to pass your state CDL test, which is actually, in my opinion, dangerous. There's a school I went for a refresher. I drove before. I needed to get that certificate to try to help me get back in the industry because I lost my job. So the WIA program paid for me to go to school, which my tax dollars had not been used for anything other than that WIA program, and then way back when I had my Pell Grant and stuff like that to go to college. But back to the schools. The schools being, the one I went to was 5 weeks, $5,000. They averaged 25 students every other week. They had a class starting every other week. The reason I say it's a joke, the most you're going to get out of it is how to back in a parallel park. You might learn how to do a 90 or a 45 degree back, straight line back, offset back, parallel could be blind side or side side, whichever. But I'm here to tell you, backing into a box in a controlled environment is nothing like being out here in the real world where you don't have cones to go off of. You've got somebody's hood on their Peterbilt or on their Freightliner. Because I'm driving a Peterbilt. When you take the front end off of my truck, I'm going to be a little upset. Because my wheels aren't turning, I'm not making any money. Regardless whether I'm on percentage or cent per mile. So with that being said, I think it's a noble idea of a truck driving school, but it needs to be more in depth. Taking somebody out and giving them 10 hours worth of road time, which is all they did at the school I went to, 10 hours, that's it. I do that in a day, 10 hours of driving. You really don't get a good feel. Now, yes, I drove before, but there were people that were in that class also, because they mixed the refreshers in with the newbies, that had never drove a truck before a day in their life. They didn't even know. Hell, there were some of them that had never even used a manual transmission. And running a manual instead of running an automatic is night and day different. Especially when you get into a semi, which there's no synchronizers, so you got to make sure that your RPMs are right. And only having 10 hours of doing road time, you don't get any time shifting really. 10 hours, please. They might take you around in town, you get a good idea of what local driving is. But local jobs coming straight out of school are few and far between. You might get in with this mom and pop company that's really needing a driver real bad, and they're going to pay you a little something. You'll be home every night, play with the wife and kids, or your husband, whatever the case may be, but you're not going to have any idea. If you never drove a truck before and you go through a school and you only get 10 hours of road time, and you got whatever it is, 2 or 3 weeks of backing maneuvers and stuff like that, the only thing you're ready for is to go take a CDL test. And the worst of it is we had 4 people out of the class that couldn't pass their road test with the CDL. One of them it took twice on a pre-trip. Then they passed their maneuvers. And then they passed, no, they never did pass the road test. The other one, they didn't even make it a pre-trip. It was too much for them. Just the anxiety of going to take a test. Which I think would be better. You would be more relaxed taking that test if you had more time. And I got told by the school that, well, they can't afford that. Okay, well, I'm going to do the math for you real quick here. If you take $5,000 per person And there's an average of 25 students per class, and a class starts every other week. So $5,000 times 25 is $125,000. That has to be paid before you can even start the school. So that means $125,000 is paid to that school 26 times a year. That's a lot of money. And for a school that says that, oh well, we can't afford to do that. Okay, I know diesel prices are high. $4 a gallon, whatever they are nowadays, depending on where you live at, what state you're in. But those trucks only idle. They idle all day. Yes, idling, you burn a gallon an hour. They idle for 7 hours. Well, 6 hours. 6 to 7 hours they idle. That's 6 gallons per truck. We'll say 7. 7 gallons per truck. And they only had 5 trucks on the range. So that means they only burned 30 gallons of fuel a day. They were only open 5 days. That was it. For the yard trucks. Now they only had 4 trucks that went out on the road. But if you're only doing 10 hours, 10 total road time hours, you're not burning that much fuel. I'm sorry. I run down the highway, and this one, which gets about 6.5 miles to the gallon, and I drive for 11 hours, and I use a quarter of a tank of fuel. Which, mind you, it's 200 gallons, so 50 gallons, But I'm also tacking in at 1,300 and running 640 miles. I can tell you right now, in those 10 hours, I never even got close to 300 miles. So even at that, we'll say, 200, we'll say 200 gallons. I don't even know if you could say that. I don't even know if you could say those trucks burn 50 gallons of fuel a day that are on the road. Maybe altogether. So there's 300. So we'll say 50 gallons plus another 80 gallons. So 80 gallons times 4 is $320. Now times that by 5 days a week times 52 weeks. That doesn't come anywhere near close. 125,000 times 26. Well, I will tell you this. Amy, you drive a very nice car, and I'm sure you have a very nice house. And I have nothing wrong with that, because I am all for, capitalism and making money and all that. But I'm not for putting a false sense of security and hope into people's heads that they're going to be able to go drive a truck. They can get on with a company that's a training company, and they might not make it. I know the company I went with, and I've already talked about that. They're very strict, they're very tough, but I appreciate that, because not everybody gets to drive one of their trucks. We start off with over 30 people in our class. When the 2 weeks was up of orientation, when everybody was getting assigned to their trainers, we had lost 10 or 12 guys. And then, I'm not even sure how many are left. But I know there's a lot of other training programs out there that are not as strict, that might only last 3 or 4 days on orientation. Hell, they might only last 8 days. Then you go out for 2 weeks, you drive with a trainer, maybe 3 weeks. You might get in 6,000 miles, and they can turn you loose. Here's a set of keys. Have at it. And you're driving next to me. I've got a 5-month-old nephew. Hi, Matthew. Love you to death, bro. When you're 4, taking you fishing, we're going to catch a huge-ass bass. Huge bass. Huge. Show you how to fish. Anyways, one of those idiots is driving next to me, and they put it into the wall. They're right in front of me. I might not make it to see my nephew make his 4th birthday, be able to take him fishing. So that's why I say the trucking schools, man, it's, I would say it almost behooves you to try to get into a company that would help you get your license instead of going to a school. I think you might receive better training and, go from there. I mean, I know the industry is short on drivers. Turnover rate's 130%. A lot of that is because the recruiters that you see when you're in school, they like to blow sunshine and Skittles up your ass. They want to come in and tell you can be home every weekend. Every company's going to tell you this. You can be home every weekend. We're going to pay you 30 cents a mile. And you can be home every weekend. And you're going to make $50,000 a year. Okay. I just drove 11 hours. Did 640 miles. Now, that's only because I've got a 3-day load. If I didn't have a 3-day load, I'd probably be driving like maybe 500 miles, drop this load, wait for my next load. I might only get 4 loads a week, which means you're only going to drive, we'll say 500 miles 4 times a week. If that's the case, that's only 2,000 miles. At 30 cents a mile, that's $600 a week. Times that by 52 weeks. Because you're home every weekend. You're not making any money on Saturday or Sunday. Well, 600 times 50 is 30,000. So that means you make $31,200 a year. Making 30 cents a mile. Being home every weekend. Now, yeah, there are times that you're going to make a little better. So we'll say this. We'll call it even. $36,000. Because you might be able to have a load every week. There's not going to be any guarantees on that. The truck might break down. The truck I just got assigned to me, I've been in the shop since Monday morning. I didn't get my truck and get it assigned to me until Tuesday evening. That's 2 days. I know guys that have taken their trucks in, the shop's full up. It took them 3 days. Had to put a transmission in, or 4 days, put a transmission in, because it's backed up. They got a bunch of other trucks going on. Yours came in. They got to wait for parts. They got to tear it down, put it back together. You know, semis aren't light. None of it light. So, you know, do some research before you go to get a trucking, driving school, and drop $5 or $6 grand on a loan. There's a guy that went through orientation. He's got a loan for $6,200. 5 weeks, $6,200. And he's responsible for it. They're going to do payroll deduction where we work, but I don't know if I'd be doing the truck driving school. I really don't. So, but I don't know any other way for you guys to get into trucking, or gals. You know, not that women can't do this job, because they can. I mean, it's, you know, they could probably do it better. They got smaller feet, so they're not touching the brake and the gas at the same time because they're wearing big work boots like some guys do. So, that's all I got. If you got any questions, man, hit me up. Later.